This Shabbat is Yom Kippur, so we depart from the weekly readings of the Torah and focus instead on the day itself. The reading that is selected by the rabbis to be read on Yom Kippur morning is the obvious one from the book of Leviticus, chapter 16, which describes the actual ceremony that was to take place on Yom Kippur in the Mishkan, the portable sanctuary in the desert, and later in the temple in Jerusalem. The description that we have in the Torah is very sacred and full of pomp and circumstance, and it's in the Mishnah by the rabbis that they fill out the details as to exactly what the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, would do on that day. And so on the one hand, it's an obvious choice for the rabbis to make that selection for us to read on Yom Kippur, to always remember what happened in our past. But the curious thing is that the rabbis make a conscious decision about what should be read on the holiday. And so even though this is an obvious choice, we have to also think, what else could the rabbis have chosen? In other words, what message from the Torah could they have chosen to be the message that we're supposed to focus on this holiday? Perhaps the rabbis could have chosen the chapter from the book of Genesis that's only 2 chapters before what we read on Rosh Hashanah, in which Abraham argues with God to save the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah on behalf of finding righteous people there. Even 10 righteous people, God was willing to save those 2 cities. And perhaps that could be a message on this Yom Kippur, to always be fighting for justice. Or perhaps we could be focused on the revelation of the Torah at Mount Sinai and read about that from the 20th chapter of the book of Exodus. Perhaps then that would inspire us to reconnect to the Torah. And so what do the rabbis want us to note through the Torah reading, aside from the connection to history? It is clear that there is a mystery behind the day itself, a mystery and awe and solemn convocation of the congregation together that needs to be emphasized on the holiday, and that we recognize through the offering of sacrifices by our ancestors, this ancient idea, if there could only be some way in which we could control our destiny, some way that we could have some sense of control over what will happen tomorrow, let's give of ourselves, let's make a sacrifice in order to make that happen. And perhaps that is another message, and the message that the rabbis want to get across to us, to focus on the mystery of life, the mystery of God, and our sense that we need to give of ourselves in order to make the best possible contribution and prayer for this coming year. May we have a meaningful fast this Yom Kippur.